So what's up, everybody? So anyways, I just got done. I don't know. I just got done taking a big airplane flight, as you can know. And let's see. It's Sunday, November 2nd. The Glenn Beck video just came out. Got Mount Hood right behind me. A lot of people got a lot to say about that video I just put out, including members that are supposedly of the cartel. And I should just sit down on my truck. Maybe I will, but I want you to be able to have the video. You know, let's just do this. Let's go like this. Just give you a little glimpse of what I'm looking at. When you can't see that, when that's not all right there, with all the clouds, you can see for probably, I want to say at least 40 miles. Nah, longer than that. Probably, maybe even 60 miles away. But it's beautiful. But anyways, you know, when that Glenn Beck video came out, a lot of people are just got a lot to say. And I was making a joke coming up here about Christopher Walken on that Saturday night skit. I got a fever, and the only cure is more cowbell.
Guess what? I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
Shout out to Christopher Walken. Hey, a lot of people are going to have a lot to say about everything that I do. I try to sound more educated than I am. I sound too slang. You know what? If you spend your time looking for everybody else's approval, you're never going to get anything done. So if people like what you're putting out, if they don't like what you're putting out, I don't care. You want to know how I got an attempted murder charge? You really want to know? I got an attempted murder charge because when I was young, I was too much of a pussy. And I'm going to use that word, pussy, there. Does that sound educated to you? Street educated. I was too much of a pussy to stand up to people that were bigger than I was, had more tattoos, and they're dangerous people. No doubt about it, they are, without a doubt. And because of that, I almost had to spend until I was at least 41 years old in prison for something I didn't even do. I was just there. I didn't slit that guy's throat. I didn't do that. It was none of that. And if you wait for everyone's approval to go into the military, waiting for permission for someone to tell you what to do, you're never going to get anything done. Ever. So now I've got this Glenn Beck video, man. Sunday, November 2nd. I was just in Manhattan yesterday morning. Today I'm up here. You can see where I'm at. I'm telling you the date. This isn't a voiceover. Got my little stupid microphone right here. I don't really like it, but whatever. And you know, that Glenn Beck video is starting to generate some heat. I don't really like how it came out, man. I don't really like how the Johnny Mitchell videos came out. And Johnny Mitchell hasn't even made his videos public yet, and I don't even know what I've said on them. But I do know that my story is my story, and that's not apt to change. I know that people say that the bullshit meter is going off on this guy. You know what? I was there. I've given you check stub numbers to each one of these podcasts that I go on. I've given them my letter of commission. I've given them the exact serial numbers on the weapons that I carried for the Mexican government. And I have my own brothers. Someone said something about me mentioning their names. Both those guys that I mentioned, we talk to each other. We're brothers. We sleep together in the same rooms. We are up on guard duty all night together. We have bled together. We have done everything. And I trust those guys implicitly with my own life, have several times, and theirs with me. We all have Facebook pages and have for years, well over a decade, with us in uniform. And we've already talked about it before I came on and started doing videos. We've had this discussion. Okay. So there's that. Is it nerve-wracking having cartel members leaving messages on your videos? Yeah, of course it is. But you know what? We all accept that risk when we show up anyways, man. My wife and I, we've discussed this. Reporters are even braver than we are. They sign up to go do their job for about 6,000 to 8,000 pesos a month, writing stories covering topics such as security in the military. And they do it day in and day out, and they don't get any of the recognition and credit that they deserve. Meanwhile, grifters in the United States take their place. There's a thing in Mexico called asociación delictiva or delictuoso, which means like it would be being associated with the cartel and other stuff. And so you'll have these people that claim to be operating out of Mexico that are talking with the cartel. The last big instance of it was Sean Penn when he went and interviewed El Chapo. That was legit. But you have these other people claiming to operate out of places, having knowledge to people of people that are probably low-level riffraff and not ever substantiating anything that they ever do, which is kind of why I started this channel to begin with, because a lot of people in Mexico get the short end of the stick and they shouldn't. Either they don't get the credit that they deserve for valiantly risking their life against an evil that affects us all, or either in the portación in Spanish, carrying weapons on behalf of, or reporting honestly and legitimately on a subject that affects us all. And you know, I take issue with it. And so when I was telling you, like when I was younger and I was a pussy because I was afraid of my older homies, or not afraid of them, but didn't have the courage to stand up to them, I lost that a long time ago, that cowardice that I had. I lost it. I have people saying that the bullshit meter goes off on me all the time, but not one of these people are posting their own videos. And if anyone really, because now my name is going to come out, my whole name. If anyone ever wants to post the exact check stub numbers of my checks, the exact serial numbers of the weapons that I carried in Mexico, the exact extent of my legal education in Mexico, and what cuatrimestre, because that's what it's called, that I was in, sexto cuatrimestre, right? Invalidate all of this stuff, who, what, where, when, and how. I will go toe-to-toe with any professional journalist or any professional security professional or military professional that they want. Period. Any day of the week. Because I'm no longer a coward. I lost that a long time ago. I lost that when I was going to have to spend the rest of my life in prison for something I didn't even do because I didn't have the balls to speak up and be like, no, I don't want to be a part of this. And the same goes with groups, powerful outlaw groups that want to give drugs to children, that want to kill innocents. And then they're going to do this and they're going to expect that you don't even have the right to quejarse or speak out about it publicly. And I'm not doing that either. You know, I'm not going to play ball. And then the government that sits there and is complicit in it too, with the CIA selling cocaine to American citizens in LA. And it's not me with conspiracy theories. They do this, sending weapons that are killing people to Mexico. They're killing people that I love and care about. And then they claim executive privilege through Holder. Then they're going to say, you know, we should support the rule of law while they're killing civilians in fishing boats and then setting the survivors free because they weren't trafficking drugs, setting the survivors free in Ecuador. And you know what? I'm going to call bullshit on all of it. The cartel, the government doing it, all of it, because I'm not owned. I'm a free person, and so are you. And you know what? I don't know what the consequences of doing all these videos are. You know what I hope the consequence is? Freedom. I hope the consequence is accountability. Because there's a lot of people on both sides of the law that don't have anything to do with either of those two aspects of life that, you know, that we claim are our values. And there's a lot of people upset with me talking about legalizing drugs. Do you want to make alcohol illegal? That's a drug. Kills a lot of people every year. Drunk driving deaths. Do you want to make nicotine illegal? That's a drug. Millions of people dying every year behind that, but they don't want to make cocaine and the other drugs illegal because they're making money and paying all their mortgages with it. Buying illegal submarines and stuff like that, trying to transport drugs, and your approach has failed for 20 years. And you know what? I'm not that same guy back in 1991 that didn't have the balls to speak out and say what's what. I know who my audience is. They're mostly military agents and some people that like the cartel subject. I was there fucking working in it. Don't like to cuss, but that's just the way it is. My brothers and I were working in it. We were sitting up at night, sometimes with 2 hours of sleep, sometimes with no sleep, for days on end, confronting an evil that people want to discuss on YouTube and online, and then tell us how we should discuss it or whether or not our stories are legit while we were legitimately there and you weren't. Or not you, no disrespect, but I mean just calling things what's what, right? So I'm making this video in Manhattan yesterday, and I'm listening to my thing on Glenn Beck on the way up, and I don't always like the way that I talk, man. But it's the way that I talk, and if you don't like it, listen to something else. No one's forcing you to sit there and listen to what I have to say. You like what I have to say, you don't like what I have to say, it's not my problem, man. You know, I love that saying, you can please some of the people some of the time, you can please all the people, or you can please some of the people all the time, you can please all the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time, and I'm not even going to try. You don't like who I am, chef's kiss, got to have more cowbell type of sense of humor. I don't give a fuck, man. I'm not for you. I spent my life, my young life, trying to be for other people, trying to impress them. I'm over it, man. I'm over trying to impress a government that doesn't give a fuck about me, that'll sell drugs to the same city that I live in. And you know, people want you to submit to them. They want you to kowtow around them, tiptoe. I'm not gonna do it. You know, there was cartel guys making comments on that Glenn Beck video yesterday, and there's serious big boy consequences for doing what I'm doing right now. They just killed a journalist October 25th because they were disrespectful. And I'm not calling someone out being more bravado or braver than I should be, or being more, trying to purposely be an affront to them. But when you know, I wanted to say this, to stay on topic, about challenging people openly. When you get locked up, you're going to have people openly challenge you. And if you reject that challenge and you don't fight back, you're going to live a very miserable existence. So you learn immediately when you're locked up for attempted murder, and everyone else in there around you is a killer. They're a gangster. And they're going to come up and they're going to challenge you based on your ethnicity, based on your height, your size, your crimes, whatever they can come up there. If you, and I was locked up for A187 APC, which is attempted murder, the penal code, and then plus felony accessory after the fact. That's what they were trying to get me with. Just to avoid anyone trying to fabricate some type of crime. They're going to challenge you, and you're going to have to fight. And you know, this subject's a lot like that too, because I watch this going down a totalitarian hole, and I'm not going to be the guy that just stood by and didn't say anything. And the cartel's not going to like what I have to say, and some of my coworkers might not like what I have to say either. But I'm going to say what I have to say because it's important to do so, because freedom and accountability on all sides of the government are something that I believe in, man. And I'm not going to shriek away from that or shirk any of that. I have a responsibility, and for a large portion of my life, I have been politically apathetic. I voted for Jo Jorgensen, who's a woman, because she was a Libertarian Party candidate, with Spike Cohen, who's a Jew. I'm not a liberal, not at all. In fact, mostly I don't get along with liberals because they're too over the top, and I do believe in traditional values. But I also don't believe in conservatives that just sit there and are apathetic about the way things go. I've had a talk with a lot of my conservative brothers about whether or not Donald Trump and his red flag gun laws, and now they're crickets. And I talked with them for a long time about Donald Trump saying, take the guns first, due process second, direct quote by Donald Trump in regards to red flag gun laws, for example. And I had to argue with him for years, even though he's on video saying exactly that, to get them to even admit that he said that. And so I've got my own conservative people telling me that I'm a liberal because of a failed 20-year strategy towards drugs, which affected me personally and my family and others. And then the fentanyl, on top of it, doesn't even come from Venezuela, and we're blowing boats out of Venezuelan water. Why? Because we want Venezuela's oil, but we're going to sit here and pretend like that's got something to do with the massive drug problem that we've got in this country. None of the fentanyl's coming from Venezuela. But here you are supporting blowing up their boats. And when I say something about you guys furthering red flag gun laws, or when you guys are blowing up boats without due process because of fentanyl, but none of these boats are carrying any fentanyl, and then they're releasing the survivors in Ecuador, and I've got you guys telling me I'm a liberal. Get the fuck out of here, man. Hey, how you doing? Good, man. Thank you. So, you know, there's some more people showing up. I got up here kind of early today. People don't like facts, and people don't like fighting their own fights. That's something else that you got to learn how to do. Hey, Dave, how did you learn how to not be a coward? Because you used to be. Turn that up. You know, the way that I learned how to not be a coward is I got tired of having what I had going on in my own life, man. I had to suit up and show up and start fighting my own battles, man. I mean, I've done that since I was a kid, growing up fighting. But I mean, there's certain levels to it. You grow up fighting in school. One of the first fights I ever got in was Jody Williams was on that bus too. She was a bigger girl with glasses, but man, she was pretty. I really liked her a lot because she was kind to me. And where was that? That was Audubon, Iowa. I think I was like 6 years old, and I used to wear cowboy boots. And I got on a fight on the bus because they would come out and pick us up from the farms. And I stomped this kid's nose with my boots. One of the very first fights I ever got in. I think it was kindergarten or the first grade, something like that. But that's, you know, everyone's going home. And then you get older, and you start getting in more serious fights in school and this type of thing. But then you start hanging out with people that are legit killers, either here in the United States that are gangsters, or in Russia, or in Mexico, or maybe even in Africa. Remember I was talking about the Joseph Kony thing? And the $5 million bounty that the American government put on it, which means, whoa, hey, let's pick up some weapons and go find the guy that's getting child soldiers. A lot of people don't have the balls to go fight their own fights, and so they support a great big industry of people that don't have anything else to offer society other than the ability to carry weapons, and they turn it into a big industry because a lot of people are cowards. And then you have some people, you combine that with people that don't have anything else to offer that can make a good living off of carrying weapons, of which I've done on behalf of other people. And what I really support is I support a society where everybody is accountable for what they do. Everybody, except for the mentally handicapped and the diminished capacity, or children, or even the elderly that have Alzheimer's and other type of ailments, mental ailments that come with age. But everybody else, including politicians, police, criminals, everybody should be accountable. Normal people. And we don't have that, and we should. I support everybody being armed all of the time, responsible for their own self-defense in every moment, and willing to fight their own battles. I support promoting that. That's what my channel supports. And if people are on board with that or they're not on board with that, I don't give a fuck, man. My wife tells me not to cuss, but when I talk and try to sound more educated, I try to sound too educated. You know, get the fuck out of here, man. I had someone comment that on Glenn Beck's video. I'm not here to appease you, motherfucker. You know, exactly going out to you. I do try to maintain a more professional air in a lot of the videos that I have, but then watching this Glenn Beck thing, and I don't even know what the Johnny Mitchell one's going to look like. I got something lined up with Ed Calderon, and I'm going to do some snowboarding today, you know, because I like to snowboard and surf. I am who I am. And my wife doesn't approve of a lot of the things that I do. I'm not a pet, and neither is she. She has her own voice, believe you me, and a lot of times it does not coincide with what I have to say. You know, I don't want to ramble on, but I do want to address, you know, something else. I said sometime when I become famous, my wife and I was talking about it. It might sound arrogant. Look, man, I'm not anybody special. I try to be a humble individual because I come from humble beginnings, man. And I fail at a lot of things. I think I just got a D+ in school because I tanked a couple homework assignments and didn't get them turned in, and it affected my grade. I still passed, but I didn't pass with the marks that I should have because I didn't do every assignment. So I don't do everything in my life perfectly. I just want to make that clear. And people like my videos, they don't like my videos. I don't know, man. You know, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this, well, I am doing this for you. I'm doing this for all of us. I want to make sure that when people report something on YouTube, and I'll just come right out and say it like Katerina Schultz that says she's based out of Mexico on a tourist visa. I want them to substantiate who they are and who they talk to and when, the way that Sean Penn did. You don't see me making videos against Sean Penn. Why, Dave? Why are you such a jerk? It's because when I approach these people openly with my background and with my brother's background of having personally done this subject, I came back, I got crickets, which means that they're not interested in the truth. They're interested in selling you something that's not authentic. And then they're going to sit there and be like, I'm a Canadian based in Mexico. I'm going to call people on that shit, dude. And Ed, to his credit, has come out and given me his queep, his clave único identificación policiaca. I haven't run it yet. I will. And I have something, and I mostly believe Ed, but when I run into all these people, and they're famous, and they report on this subject routinely, even though they have no direct experience with it, certainly not from an operational standpoint, I'm well within my lane of talking about whatever the fuck it is I want to talk about when it comes to this subject. I'm definitely going to, man. 100%. I'm not letting it go. And then when the bad guys, they'd be like, oh, hey, you know what? We should be feared or whatever, you know. Hey, I showed up and put that uniform on this every day the same way my brothers do. We got our Facebook pages. Not being disrespectful, but you're not going to give me drugs or kill innocent people and be like, oh, I got to keep my mouth shut. Not going to happen. And in fact, to be super honest, you know, in the future, I look forward to having a cordial talk with you because if anything, I have learned that most Mexicans are completely polite people, including a lot of the bad ones, man. Not bad ones, I mean people that are involved in illegal activities, obviously. And doing so with the blessing of the Mexican government, where I'm not having something like Asociación Delictuosa, because I'm in the furtherance of journalism, which I do have firsthand knowledge of. And so, if people want to take issue with anything I have to say, put it out there publicly, address me. Matt, I got your email, dude. And also, oh, his name's escaping me right now. He wanted to do a Christian video. I'm going to be contacting you later today when I'm done snowboarding, man. The boxer. Because I definitely want to start supporting Christianity and Christian beliefs and this type of stuff. You know, I was going to touch on that too. Let me talk about one other thing. When I was a teenager, man, I got my hands on the Satanic Bible, right? I think it was 1984, 85. It was written by Anton LaVey. And so I read this entire Satanic Bible. It's about that thick. It's a book about that big. Black cover, purple writing on the front of it. And I read it. And so I'm reading this book by Anton LaVey. Bald dude. I think he's dead now. In fact, I know he is. He passed away. God rest his soul. I hope he's with God. Hope he found him. But I read this whole thing. It's got a whole bunch of stuff in there like a cowardly dog turns the other cheek. That's specifically what it says. And I don't believe in just letting things slide. And God didn't either, because he sent David to slay Goliath. But I read that thing and I remember thinking, it's crazy to think about this. But then you go to live in San Francisco and you see the house that he was running the Church of Satan out of. And you figure out that when you pull all the window dressing off stuff, the way that people publish stuff, there's people up here. I've got them right here, right behind me. There's cars in the parking lot. When you get a full view of everything that's going on, things often appear differently. And the Satanic Bible was kind of like that. The government's kind of like that. Bad people are like that. When you run into cartel members in Mexico and you find out they're like these tiny little people a lot of times. And I mean tiny, like little wiry people. And you're like, really? You're cartel? Things aren't what they appear to be a lot of times. And so I like to corroborate things to the 10th degree. I like to corroborate things to substantiate what it is I'm saying, because there's so many people out there that don't do shit with their own life, that all they have to do, sit there on a little keyboard, crying their little tears. Cry me a river, dude. All of them. I'm not going to shirk away from you guys at all. In fact, I'm going to go on the offensive. I'm going to call you out on it. And I'm going to dare you to prove me wrong, because I'm not making any of this up. And my brothers have their own Facebook pages. I'm just one member that's gone down there. I'm not John Wick. I'm not Jason Bourne. But also, I am someone that definitely showed up to confront these guys personally in uniform. I'm not going to call myself brave. I don't like doing that. I'm just going to say that the rest of you are typing on your keyboards. Not all of you, but some of you are typing on your keyboards. I'm down there in the back of the truck, freezing my balls off at 2 o'clock in the morning, doing a federal transfer of cartel bosses, getting frostbite, having to put my fingers under my plate carrier, changing my hands that are holding my weapons, because the probability of us getting attacked is very high. And I'm sitting there putting that up. People don't know, but you get frostbite in the middle of the desert at night, man. It's that cold. And then I'm going to sit here years later and have these guys tell me online that I'm making things up or the bullshit meter's going off. Fuck you, dude. Post your video with all your extensive anti-cartel experience, because I've posted mine. Or shut the fuck up, My wife's going to get really upset with me for cussing so much in this video, but I don't care, because some things just need to be said the way that they need to be said, and I'm saying it. Beautiful day out. You can see clouds rolling in over the top of Mount Hood. I've said enough. I'm going to get some snowboarding done. Chef's kiss. No, you need the Mount Hood one. Chef's kiss! Chef's kiss! So anyways, I really kind of dig being given the opportunity to talk and get my stuff out there. And it's a cool thing. I've been very fortunate in my life in a lot of ways.
Yeah, explore the space. I like what I'm hearing.